a quick reminder of what Microsoft Graph is. Let me tell you a little story. I joined Microsoft 7 months ago, and I am a remote employee. I've never been to a Microsoft office. In fact, I still didn't meet any of my colleagues in real life. And yet, despite all of this, I managed to settle down nicely in my job, find my ways around the organization, and be productive. Well, at least I think I am productive. And that's mainly possible because of the set of tools and apps available to me. I have access to the list of people I work with. I know where they are located, I know which time zones they are on, so I know when I should and when I shouldn't reach out to them, for example. As you know, working remotely comes with a great deal of online meetings, and these can be a little bit too much sometimes. Microsoft Viva give me great insights for me to balance things out and to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and my well-being. It's really great to have those slots on the calendar booked just so I can focus and work without anything or anyone disturbing me. But it's not just about me as an individual. It's about us as a group, as an organization. I work very closely with Daryl and Elena. The three of us are located in 3 different continents, 3 different time zones. And yet, we manage to successfully collaborate and work together on a daily basis. Sometimes I just drop a message on Teams for Daryl being like, "Hey Daryl, could you please check this thing out tomorrow in your morning?" Or I would be collaborating on a document asynchronously with Elena. If I need to schedule a meeting with them, I also have enough information to know which time is the most convenient for all of us. And this is all possible thanks to Microsoft Graph. Basically, the essence of the organization's productivity is the fabric of Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph is the Microsoft 365 goodness and data. The good news is this is not just available for me because I'm internal to Microsoft. This is also available for you. No matter where you are, which programming languages you use or technologies, you can power your apps and build rich experiences using Microsoft Graph. And now I am going to give you a teeny glimpse of how and what you can do with Microsoft Graph. I am going to use 2 of my favorite graph tools. I'm going to use the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, then Graph Explorer. I hope that you are familiar with these 2 tools. If not, don't worry, I will be talking about them in much more detail in just a couple of minutes, so just bear with me, please. Here I am on the Microsoft Graph Toolkit playground, and let's say I'm building an app and I want to add a list of tasks. I want the user to be able to have a list of their tasks. When a task is done, they can check it out, etc. So I need a UI component for that. If I check the components available on the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, I can see that there is a tasks component. If I click on tasks, here it is. Perfect. That's exactly what I need for my app. So I could just use this out of the box. Oh well, but maybe I'm building something else. Maybe I'm not interested in a UI component. Instead, I want to see the code behind this. What's powering this? I'm just interested in the API call and I'm gonna use it in my own app. So if I go to Graph Explorer, and hopefully, with the list of sample queries, I can find something that would help me with tasks. Oh, I see there are a few options under Planner. So if I say I want to see all my tasks here, this is the API call that I need, and I see I've got things coming back to me in the response. Just to check, let's see if it's the exact same thing as we just saw with the toolkit component. In fact, it is. And that's because I'm not signed in, so I'm still using the sandbox sample data. Maybe I'm using one of the Graph SDKs, and I wouldn't mind a code sample that I could just simply copy and paste in my app. If I check here these code snippets, I could see there are a few options for me here depending on which language I'm using. So this is all some of the options that are available for you to be able to use Microsoft Graph with your apps. If you'd like to learn more about the Microsoft Graph, please visit our developer portal at aka.ms/graph or the documentation portal at aka.ms/graph/docs. Now, a great way to integrate with Microsoft Graph is the Microsoft Graph Toolkit that you've seen me using earlier in my demo. The Microsoft Graph Toolkit is a collection of reusable, framework-agnostic components and authentication providers. Basically, it's components that let you access and work with Microsoft Graph. Think of it as drag and drop controls built by us, ready to use out of the box by you to save you time and effort. And today I'm really happy to share with you the latest enhancements and additions the team on Microsoft Graph Toolkit has been working on. One of the latest, coolest additions to the playground is the editor. Basically, this is a blank editor to give you more flexibility so you can bring your own code. You can have your own CSS, your own JavaScript, and you can customize the components. So please make sure to share with us any new scenarios, any new components you work on, so the whole community can benefit from that. Which brings me to the next cool thing I want to show you. If we go to adoption.microsoft.com and then I want to check the gallery of the sample solutions, and any moment now, here we go. I'm going to look for MGT, short for Microsoft Graph Toolkit, and let's see if there are any samples for Microsoft Graph Toolkit. And there are a few samples here. So I want to see, let's check this one, for example. In here, I can see the sample in action in more details, and I can access the code on GitHub. So if we go to GitHub to see this, the repo is here with all the details. And if I scroll a little bit, scroll, I can even see it in action on the playground. So if I click on here, ta-da! It's fully loaded on the playground. Again, you can see the code. Maybe you want your own spin on it, customize it even more, and do things with it. How cool is this? And like the Microsoft Graph Toolkit Playground is really awesome when you're using the Graph Toolkit. And to make things even easier for you, we made the Playground a progressive web app, which means that you can download it, you can pin it to your taskbar, you can have it like with your favorite apps that you use on daily basis. So if I go in here, click install, and then yes, absolutely, pin to the taskbar and say hello. I know that you can't see this, but I can see that I already have a cute little giraffe icon on my taskbar. There is a variety of resources available for you if you'd like to learn more about the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, or if you'd like to contribute as well. So there is GitHub, the documentation, the playground, and much more. So, after the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, we've been working on too many things. Another thing we've been working on really hard and trying to improve is around our SDKs and tooling. As the Microsoft Graph is growing, we wanted to make sure that our tooling can keep up with that. We wanted to make sure that supporting new languages would take weeks instead of months, for example. If there is any new features on the Microsoft Graph, we wanted to make sure they are available on the different SDKs, different languages, in a timely manner. So that was the focus, improving the tooling. And today, I'm really happy to share with you the latest addition to our tooling, Kiota. Kiota is a lightweight, low-maintenance, open API-based code generator for creating SDKs. And on top of allowing more language support and more support for API features fairly fast, Kiota will also allow for what we call self-serve SDKs, SDKs that are tailored and customized by you depending on your needs. So you won't have to rely on depend on us anymore if you don't want to. The prepackaged SDKs will always be available, of course, if that is your choice. But if that's not what you need, if you need something potentially much smaller, you could go generate your own SDK just with the APIs that you need, which would potentially reduce the size of the SDK as well for you. Another great benefit to Kiota is when it comes to designing APIs. Let's say you just generated an SDK, did some testing, and thought, oh, I need to do some tweaks here and there. All you have to do from within Visual Studio, just modify the OpenAPI file, regenerate the SDK within seconds, and then you're ready. You're ready to go and test again. So this is really great. On top of the Graph APIs, Kiota would work with any OpenAPI or CSDL described API as well. In fact, we are exploring ways to allow you to generate SDKs for your dynamic 365 data available in Dataverse. So keep an eye for that. Okay, too many words. Enough with the words, and let's see how it all works together. So for the purposes of my demo, I have a TypeScript app, and I would like to show a list of users on my app. So the Graph API, it's a little too big for me for the purposes of my app. I only need the users portion, so I'm going to use Kiota to generate a TypeScript SDK that is much more smaller in size. Now, as I just explained, for Kiota, I will need to use an OpenAPI document. Again, if I am to rely on the Microsoft Graph OpenAPI document, that's too big and have everything on it. I don't need everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another tool called Hedi, also a new addition to the family of tools. Hedi is a command line tool that allows for the processing of OpenAPI documents, to validate the documents or to do some sort of transformations and conversions from V2 to V3, for example, and vice versa, or JSON to YAML and vice versa, etc. So I am going to use Hedi to slice the OpenAPI document. Again, take that one big OpenAPI document, use some filtering, to get a much smaller OpenAPI document. The filtering part, we're gonna filter based on a Postman collection. Where am I going to get my Postman collection? I am going to get my Postman collection from Graph Explorer. Graph Explorer, for those of you not familiar with Graph Explorer, it's a developer tool to learn and experiment with the Microsoft Graph. We lately added a new feature on the Graph Explorer, which is Resource Explorer. That's not a typo on my slides there. And Resource Explorer would allow me to pick and choose which endpoints I want, and then I can export the Postman collection. This is just a reminder of what Graph Explorer is, what HEDI is, in case you want to take your time later to go through this. And now let's see what I just explained as a concept in action. So here I am on Graph Explorer, and I am here to export the Postman collection. So for that, I need to go on this Resources tab. This is a new feature we added to Graph Explorer, and here you can see everything that is available on Microsoft Graph. Literally everything, whether that is on V1 or on beta as well. For the purposes of my app, I am only interested in users, the post and get endpoints. So I'm gonna search here for users and see what I get in the search result, and I get few things, so I'm gonna keep scrolling until I find what I actually need, which is this. So here I'm gonna add get to my collection and then add post. Let me see, just double check. Yes, I have what I need, and now I can download this collection. So I have this file, and then the next step is for HEDI to give us an OpenAPI file. For that, what I'm saying is I'm asking HEDI to transform the Graph OpenAPI file, which is too big for the purposes of my app, and to slice it by using the Postman collection I just created. So using this as my filter to give me a much smaller OpenAPI file and to put it in here in this directory. So if I do that, and if we wait for a little bit, here we go. So that's done now. Just to be sure, I am going to use the validate command, if I can ever type. So I'm gonna say HEDI validate that the file we just created looks more or less like an OpenAPI file. So if I say users output.yaml, and here we go, I can see I have one item on my path, which is users, the operations to get and post. So I think this was a successful operation. Now, the third step, which is Kiota. For our app, we are using TypeScript. So I will be generating an SDK in TypeScript. So that's what we are passing to Kiota. The language of the SDK is TypeScript. Of course, Kiota supports other languages, C#, Java, etc. Go as well. And then we are referring to the OpenAPI file we created, and we are saying we want you to create a graph client for us, and this is where we want it to be. This is the folder where it would be. So if we do that, and it already happened. So that was almost instantly. Now I am going to check my app, and in here the first step is to create the client. So I am creating a client in here, and I am also authenticating the client to be able to use the Graph APIs. We are using the MGT for this matter in here for authentication and logging in. If I go to users, all we are doing here is we are saying if we are signed in and if we have that Graph client, just go and fetch all the users. And then in here, the way I want to present my users, you can see that now, thanks to the SDK I just created, I can see that I have my users, and the properties on this user, I can only have two methods, which are get and post, and that's why I selected to have. This is obviously a very simple example to show you how to use Kiota, but I hope that you get the idea. You could do much more with it, and it's super easy to use. This was the part of the demo where I show you how to use the Microsoft Graph API with Kiota. But remember earlier when I did mention Dataverse? Well, I hope you were paying attention, because what we did here, exactly in the same way I fetched users from the Graph API, I went to Dataverse and said, oh, I'm interested in opportunities. And exactly in the same steps, using HEDI, then Kiota, I now have a Dataverse client available within my app that I can use. And then to show the opportunities, here you can see very similar. If I'm signed in, if we do have a client, please do fetch the opportunities. And if I go here, so this is where client opportunities.get. Let's check what's under this client. This is my Dataverse client, of course. You can see that I only have what I decided to have there in a way. I only have the appointments and opportunities that I did add here. Now, it would be really interesting to see which other Open APIs you could bring and test with Kiota. Please do that, and we would love to see all of this. I hope you liked that demo. I hope you did find it interesting. We have, again, a variety of resources available for you. Please go and explore. If you are interested in learning more about the SDKs, we do have another session, this build by Daryl, and it's called Deep Dive into Microsoft Graph SDKs. As the title says, it's going to be a deep dive into the Microsoft Graph SDK. So if you'd like to learn more about them, make sure to attend that session as well. And that's it for this session. Before we part ways, I just wanted to leave you with these little bits of golden nuggets. Remember that if you'd like to build experiences that make your users productive, make sure you're using Microsoft Graph. And in the same way you are working hard to make your users productive, we are also working very hard to make sure that you have the tooling that would make you productive. So please go and try Kiota, go and try HEDI. Let us know what you think. Give us all your feedback and where we can improve. Also, make sure you check out the latest features and enhancements on the Microsoft Graph Toolkit and the Graph Explorer.